Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all keeping well. Thank you for joining me again. And if you're new here, welcome. We are actually different location today, my new office. Actually my mum's shed, bless her. She's cleared a space for me so I can like pop my seeds on and things like that. Few things, excuse the state of me, a little bit under the weather at the moment. So we are powering through with coffee and electrolytes. So please do excuse. Also the lighting, it was glorious sunshine. And now the heavens have just opened, so I've had to stick the light on, so it's probably not that great. But yeah, I'm back from holiday. A couple of bits have done really well while I'm away and probably need potting on just a little bit. Some things have unfortunately not made it. Only literally one tray, so I think maybe it just got missed slightly, but yeah, they're all doing very well. And I thought, while I am potting things up and just doing a couple of little bits and bobs, I thought now would be a really good time to do my 2025 plans, to share with you all. I know we are very much into the 2025 year already. We're always almost halfway through March. How? That is absolutely crazy to me. But I know I mentioned it in a video before, and I thought it'd be a really good way to kind of give you some context on how and why I'm doing things and why I'm not doing certain things, and just to give you a bit of context kind of going throughout this growing period. So if I'm looking to my left a little bit, it's because I've got the computer. I've just made some like notes and things, but yeah, I thought I'll just kind of go through a few little bits first, and then I'll start putting up, and I'll explain what I'm doing and what I'm planting as we go. So for 2025, I obviously had no idea whether I would still have this allotment or not. And so when I originally thought that I wasn't going to have it, I kind of went into this mindset of I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that, and how I could have done things differently. So when I found out that I was going to be able to keep it for the foreseeable future, I thought it'd be the perfect time not to waste any opportunity to really make the most of what I had initially intended for my allotment to be. So yeah, I just really want to make this year a really good year. I know it's going to be a really good year. I'm really excited for it. I've got loads. Do you know that's the second time I've spilt coffee today, and over something cream? I don't know what's wrong with me when it comes to coffee. I don't know why I shouldn't be allowed to drink adult drinks, should I? So yeah, I just really didn't want to waste the opportunity this year. So I've kind of stripped it all back. And before I did anything with the plot, I kind of had in my head of we go through kind of like life and things having like a why, don't we? So I just stripped it all back and was like, what am I doing this for? Why do I want it? Is it just as a hobby? Is it just somewhere to be? What is it about? And I thought a really good way to keep things in mind of how I want to do things or how I make decisions and things like that is to have like a word. And this year's word is going to be lifestyle. So I say that because about 5 years ago, I really transitioned into like a new chapter, and like a new season of my life in how I wanted to live and how I saw my future going forward. And it really was about having a lifestyle of self-sufficiency and living off the land and really living a bit more in line with nature. And when I got the allotment, I really saw it as an opportunity to almost do test and trials and experimenting of how I could make it work on a large scale, or like a homestead kind of style piece of land of where I was living. So I thought, let's take it all the way back to basics and let's go back to what it was originally intended for. So as much as I feel like I have learned so much and I have really been working towards that, I've kind of like lost that vision a little bit, and I don't really feel like I've had a successful, with whatever you want to call that and however you want to see that, I don't feel like I've had a successful year or growing season in what that goal is. So yeah, that's kind of where the idea comes from. So for me this year, it is very much moving away from it becoming more of a hobby and moving far more towards it being a lifestyle in how I live. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense a little bit, but I think it's going to be that when I am making decisions of how I'm not really sure on what I'm doing and things like that, I can go back to that word and say, does that fit in with what the vision is? And the vision is to make this a lifestyle. Does it fit in with that? If not, then we don't do it. If it does, then we move towards it. If I'm not quite sure, we see if we've got the opportunity to give it a go. So yeah, there's going to be a few areas of focus this year, which I'll get into a bit more detail, but it's very much making it, that's still fitting with that lifestyle thing, is making it like an all-round plot. So food, drink, flowers, how they kind of all fit into that. We're starting the apothecary and building my knowledge on that, which is really exciting, and I'll get into that in further detail. But also all year round produce. So how can I really manage my successional planting? How can I make sure that I'm planting things that are in season and ready, storage and things like that? So I'll get into that in the next one, and we'll run through a little bit more detail. So let's break it down a little bit. So the main goal is obviously to live off the land, which is where the word of lifestyle comes from. So couple of key points which I'll be doing this year are going back to basics. So we're going to be sticking to, apart from tomatoes and like flowers and things, we're going to be sticking to 2 or 3 varieties per plant, just to try and help with managing successional planting, managing my time, managing plans a little bit easier, just to keep on top of things, space, and just focusing on really good quality produce rather than quantity. Obviously quantity is a really big one, but I just really want to make sure that I've got really good quality crops, because one of my reasons for going this is to make sure that I'm living a healthier lifestyle, and if I haven't got good quality crops, it kind of cancels out the healthy point of view, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're just going to stick to 2 or 3 varieties and make sure we're getting them really, really good, and hopefully I can save some of the seeds from this year from them and just keep getting them better and better, really. Another big one is we're looking at preservation this year, so short term and long term. Short term, what produce stores really well, so onions, garlic, pumpkins, just things like that that I can almost plant up and not have to worry about the storage or worry about doing something with them once they have been harvested. I just need to make sure that I've got storage for them. And then long term from that is, how do I things that can't be stored whole, how do I preserve them in once they've come out of the ground? So we're looking at things like fermentation, canning, like soups, dehydrating, freezing. I also want to look at things like milling and powders, because I really do feel like I'm missing a really good way of storage and things with those, like garlic powder and just things like that, really. And then Obviously, really long-term preservation is where the seed saving comes in. So I don't think I've got any down here with me, but I save all of my film canisters, and they have been a really great way to store seeds because they are watertight. Probably not if it like flooded or anything, but I haven't got to worry about moisture getting into them, like little bits of moisture. So they're a really great way to store a few seeds if you've got them. Obviously, if you haven't got the space, it's not ideal because they are quite chunky. But yeah, if you've got the space, like a tray that you can put stuff into, really great way to store your seeds. Another big one is building my knowledge this year. So building knowledge that serves me and my goals. I have found myself getting lost in a bit of a rabbit hole when it comes to knowledge, in a way of becoming quite blinkered in what I'm learning, how I'm learning it, and how I'm using that knowledge going forward. And what I mean by that is there are so many different ways of doing things, and obviously everyone has their own style, technique of doing that. And especially when you have an allotment, you do get a lot of people that come up to you and say things like, oh, you don't want to do it like that, or oh, this is the best way to do it. And it might not be. And it can be really difficult, especially when they've had their allotment for quite a number of years. I've got people on my site that have had their plot for 10 years. So it's very much about saying thank you for the knowledge, thank you so much for sharing it with me, but if it doesn't feel right, do it your own way. As well as that is, I obviously watch a lot of YouTube. I have certain people that I follow and I really enjoy following them, but with that comes a way of trying not to just copy them, and hoping that it works for me. People are in different areas and they're in different zones. I must find out what my zone is classed as. I know it's very much an American thing, I think. But I am in the south of the UK, if that helps at all. So I shouldn't really be copying someone when they're sowing seeds, especially direct sowing. I shouldn't be copying them if they live in the north of England, or they live in Scotland, or they live in Canada. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So it's very much about building my knowledge that serves me and my goals this year. So yeah, that's a big one. I have got a few key areas that I do really want to be building my knowledge on and like focusing when when the time comes for like learning and things. The areas I want to work on are very much the apothecary, my roses. Sustainability is a big one, which I'll get into in further detail in the video. Self-sufficiency, and especially compost. If you saw my last video, you will see how excited I was about compost. Never did I think, if I spoke to 21-year-old Rasheen and said that you were excited about compost, she would laugh at you. So, but that is a big one, and kind of seeing it in a small way this year has really pushed me to expand my knowledge on it, and just further my experience and technique with it. And hopefully we can really get there on a larger scale. And I think a really big way this year of me building my knowledge is getting out there a bit more. I do find that I have a tendency to isolate myself. I just enjoy my own company, like with reading books, or watching films. I'm a big film person. So, and obviously they're not short things. So, yeah, I really do need to get out there a bit more volunteering, a lot more workshops and courses and things, and a lot more networking. Those things really do bring with them a sense of community. A lot of my friends don't really have this interest, so I found it really special last year when I went and did some volunteering, and I went on the Charles Dowding and Gaz Oakley workshop and just met so many like-minded people. It really does give you a bit of an energy boost, and it really does make you feel like you're not alone. It's one of the things that I love about YouTube, especially when you guys comment and things. It just really feels like you've got a sense of community together, which I don't often have in person, in my own kind of like little world, let's say. So yeah, just gonna try and push myself to get out there a bit more this year. And I'm also going to head to the Chelsea Flower Show because I know the shows are a really great way to find new brands, and I do find myself getting a bit blinkered in a way of going back to the same companies again, just because I know that they work, I really like them, and I just find myself getting caught up in that kind of cycle of just going back to the same one. So it'd be really good, I think, just to broaden my knowledge of what's out there, what's possible, and yeah, just meeting new people again as well. So I'll be at the Chelsea Flower Show this year. Also just to say, a really big one for me as well is trying to, which isn't a priority, however, it would be something that I'll build my knowledge base on in a bit more of like fun when I've got the time kind of thing, is to how I can use all of my crops in so many different ways. And the big one for me is with fabrics. I have grown up in a household where my mum sewed everything: the curtains, the cushion covers, my dresses, fancy dress outfits when we were a kid, and things like that. And a really big one for me would be in a sense of how I dye clothes. So I've found like a couple of people that I follow online, and a big one for me this year is kind of learning how I can dye clothes with what I'm growing at the plot. I think that will be a really, really fun way of using my crops as well. And then a big one, as I've mentioned before, this year is starting the apothecary area. So a big thing obviously that comes with self-sufficiency also comes the not just food, but it also comes with like the health and lifestyle aspect. I'll put my hands up, I do love a little pamper evening as well. And one thing I have noticed a lot with where I'm trying to just change my lifestyle slightly is just how much chemicals are in things. So I am really trying to see what I can grow at the plot where I can kind of incorporate it into, like I say, that lifestyle, being health, beauty, and looking after my health as well. I think a lot of the time we do see our healthcare system as the first point of call. What's the way of saying it? Rather than prevention, we wait until something is wrong and then we do something about it. And I have learned the hard way, that actually that is the harder method of doing things. So this year is all very much about looking after my health, how I can prevent rather than just treat. And yeah, I really feel like the apothecary area is going to be a very, very fun area for the allotment. For some reason, I've just always really overcomplicated it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but when I found, I think her name's Kaylee from the Honeystead. I will link her channel below. She is amazing. I will pop in a couple of my favourite videos because I just love watching her, and she just makes it feel like such an attainable and easy thing to do. And I think it's been a big reason why I just thought this year would be the year that we give it a go. So I'm going to start with just a few little bits this year of things that I kind of like already use. So things like chamomile, lavender, rosemary is a big one. Apparently it's really good for your hair, so I thought it'd be a really fun one to use. Calendula, which is amazing for your gut apparently, and I've just been having some troubles with my gut recently, so I thought that'd be a really good way to start incorporating the health aspect into it. I also want to incorporate my roses into the apothecary area, so the petals and the rose hips as well. I did notice that there were some rose hips that come through like my gate at the back between myself and the train line. So I'm going to see if I can harvest some of them this year as well. It'll probably be towards the end of the year, but I'm wondering if we can build those in. I am very mindful that this year may not go to plan with it. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself with it, but I think by not overcomplicating it anymore, I feel like I'm going to find very much it a more fun experience, which will make it a lot more easier to grow. This part is going to be very short and sweet because I do not want this to be a negative video because I am so excited for the season. But there are just a couple of areas of concern that I have, and I just want to be mindful of moving forward. So obviously time is going to be very limited. I'm not right next to my plot like I used to be. So I won't just be around the corner to quickly go and water it, or just go and grab something, which is where the preservation comes into it as well. So I'm trying to look at the best watering system. I'm trying to find one of those IBC tanks that doesn't cost like £200, that I can use, and I can start harvesting as much water still. I know probably would have been better to do it through winter, but I'm wondering if I can get it attached to one of those lines that have the holes in them, and I can just kind of trail that around. It also being that when I'm at the plot, I don't have to spend a lot of the time watering it. I remember last year I spent so much time watering it when I was there. It just didn't feel productive. So the watering system is a big one. Ensuring I've got a plan before I actually even get to the plot, so I can make the most of my time when I am there, and just be more efficient with it. Concern number 2 is excess funds are going to be minimal. I don't have as much spare output as I used to, so things are going to be a lot more limited. So we're going to be looking at how I can reuse items, how I can do things without spending a lot of money. However, I do not want to be buying things cheaply. I would rather be investing in items. So trying to see if I can make do with other things and invest in the better things, if that makes sense. And then still looking at what I can do short term to help with my long term. So things like compost. It's very expensive, compost, when you need a lot of it. So if you need like a little bag here and there, it's not too bad. But when you've got to fill a whole bed, it's not cheap. So compost, and to be honest with you, I have really noticed a difference in the quality of compost recently. It's not great, and I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah, compost is going to be a big one. And space is going to be, and already is, quite a big problem for me this year. I am currently at my mum's, so I don't have the space that I used to. I used to have a spare room. I used to have the window ledges. I used to have a garden. I do obviously still have those things here, but they're not mine to just do as I please. And my mum is very accommodating, bless her. However, I can't just be moving her house around to accommodate plants. So yeah, it's just, and then when things are ready, I don't obviously have an airing cover, like a pantry anymore. Yeah, or it's just things like that really. And cupboard space, I don't have that. So yeah, looking at how and thinking about my space and things, which will be preservation. Also a big one for that is containers to start my seeds off. And I say that because although you may think that these are better, a better size because you fit far more in them, actually, I am finding that smaller or less holes is actually the better option. And I say that because as you can see, I now only have 2 lines in here. These are the ones that I need to replant because they have died, unfortunately. And these ones didn't even germinate, which I didn't think they were because they were the old seeds. Back to it. As you can see, there's only now 2 lines that are empty. With the bigger one, you can see it feels like a lot more wasted space. My spinach didn't even, oh, don't want to drop it. My spinach didn't even germinate down this one. A few of them did on this one. I've already removed all of them on this one here. Some of these did, and these were the kohlrabi that I took out as well. And it just feels like in there is a lot of wasted space. So yeah, I think I will definitely be investing in more of the smaller ones this year rather than the bigger ones. I'm actually going to do a whole nother video actually on all the different types of techniques I've used this year for sowing seeds, just to give like a little bit of a breakdown of what I found has worked best and easiest, cost breakdown, just in case you're starting off new and you're wondering about those things. I thought I would do a little video to run through those, but yeah, they are going to be the 3 areas of concern: time, money and space, which I know for a lot of people they are. However, I have become very used to a way of growing, and I'm kind of having to now think of a different way. So yeah, if you've got any kind of ideas or things that you do that you find that work, do let me know in the comments. That would be very, very appreciated. I have realised I haven't potted anything up yet, and I am starting to slack a little bit. So I just wanted to run through a couple of little bits towards the end of this video of just things that I'm going to be mindful of this year, that aren't necessarily like a plan, but are very much things I'm going to be keeping in mind. So the first one is very much less planning, more moving. I have very much a tendency of overthinking. If you know me at all, you will know that I am very much an overthinker, and I like things to be perfect before I do anything, and I very much get to a point where I waste time, which is an area of concern, but also I then miss the opportunity to actually even do it or even give it a go. So we're very much doing that this year, in less planning and more moving. I do very much think that having the word lifestyle in mind has been helping me so far in making those decisions of when I am planning things. I'm not planning from a space of the unknown. I am planning with a goal in mind. So I think that's going to be really, really helpful. Another big one is, for me, is sustainability. I have very much taken on in the last 5 years a mindset of how can I be very much more sustainable. I shop very little now. A lot of my stuff is either secondhand or has been given to me, or I just don't overconsume. And I think this year is very much going to be my investing rather than purchasing. Or investing rather than consuming. I think that's going to be the key for it this year. But I have found that our industry is very, very plastic like loving. I just don't get why, for such a industry that is all about nature and loving the environment and being in it and things like that, it's very plastic heavy, and I really, really do want to make sure that I'm being mindful of when I buy things like this that are plastic, that they're really sturdy. They're strong, sturdy. These are really great. These are the ones from Containerwise. I think these are the, yeah, Charles Dowding ones. They're really good. Really, they're going to last me a long time compared to things like this. These were just from plugs from a few years ago, so they've done quite well. But I do have some other ones that are just not great. They've broken like after a year. So yeah, just something I really want to be mindful of this year. And as well, it comes down to like seed saving and things. Not buying seed packets every single year, not just the packets themselves, but the delivery of them. Just it's just keeping those things in mind. Maybe I'll run into that in a different video. Maybe I'll do like a little short one. One of the other things is putting myself out there more. I know I mentioned it in my knowledge section, but as I said, I can find myself isolating myself a little bit. I do get nervous in new environments. Maybe I come across not like that on YouTube, but I very much am not someone who enjoys putting myself out there. So I definitely want to do that this year because I had so much fun on workshop and volunteering days last year and the year before. I really want to get back to that. They're really, really enjoyable, and if you can do that, I highly recommend it. But yeah, definitely putting myself out there a bit more. And last but not least is enjoying my space a lot more. I obviously, when the weather improves, it's very difficult in the UK to be outside in the winter or just any season that isn't summer. Even summer is difficult sometimes. But just really enjoying my space a bit more. I don't, given that I'm not going to have as much time there this year, I really want to make sure that I'm not only going there because there is a job that needs to be done, or because it's too hot, or I can't. I really want it to be a place where I can go and read my book, or I can spend like half the day there doing jobs and half of it reading my book or writing or just having lunch there, not having to rush and things. So that is going to be a big one for this year, I think. So yeah, I think that is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me again. I really do have a good feeling about this season, and every time I speak to people, they say the same. So hopefully, if most of us can think it, we can manifest it. But yeah, I would love to hear what your plans are for this year, what you're focusing on, what you're doing. Is there anything you're really excited for? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear about them. I'd love to hear about any shows you're going to. Oh, and any places that you want to go to. I have my RHS membership that I don't use as often as I should do, and there is one near mum, so I'm going to be getting myself to a lot more places this year, and especially the David Austin. If you've ever been to the David Austin Gardens, let me know what time you went, or like time of the year that you went, and whether there were a lot of roses out. So I'm definitely going to head there as well. But yeah, I think because I'm now babbling, I think this year is going to be a really, really good year. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely weekend and week ahead of you, and take care. Bye, guys.